Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let us stand to do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call by Clint.
Chris Hanley,
Here.
Lee Leslie, Councilman Rick Drain,
Present.
Councilwoman Catherine Terry, Janet Moses, Commissioner Tim Murphy, Janet Patel. Here. Kevin Patel,
Here.
Chris Wynn,
Here.
Stacy Hall, and Tessa Moore.
Here.
We do have a quorum. We do have a couple guests here today. I'd like to recognize Haley. Many of y'all have met her before. She's our Paradise rep. She'll be doing some stuff in a little bit. And then Jonathan Mick is my assistant parks director. He's learning the ropes on some stuff that he needs to do. So Jonathan's here today also.
Staff and TDC members additionally, or any deletions from the agenda.
No, so we have no additions or deletions.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Make motion.
Motion by Mr. Chris,
Second.
second by Teresa. Thank y'all very, very much. Discussion and action. Clint, interim director of Skills Development.
Okay, the first thing on here is the approval of the minutes. It's in your packet from the September 17th, 2025 meeting. Entertain a motion that we accept those minutes, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries. All right, next thing we have is our bed tax and our Smith travel report. Y'all can see it up here on the screen. It's also in your packet. We are in the negative from September to over, what we had last year, but this is statewide. I mean, it's everywhere. Nothing unusual for this time of year, but fiscal year overall, you can see down there on the bottom, we're actually a positive 10.54. Those numbers probably would have been a little bit higher, but as everybody knows, we were very fortunate that we didn't have any hurricanes this year. So that being said, we didn't host as many people here locally that we normally do. If that had been the case, we probably would have been up, higher than what we are. But with the two new hotels, I think that's a big add-in as far as the number of people staying. So fiscal year, year over last year, we are up 10.54. So that's good. All right. In your packet, as everybody's probably noticed, your packet is very thick. You have your financial reports for 2025 year in review. I would entertain a motion that y'all did receive those in your packet.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. You received those financial reports for 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. That motion carries. Also in your packet, you have the first part of 2026 financial report. As part of that, entertain a motion. You received those also.
Motion.
Sorry, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. That motion carries. All right, we have the 2026 TDC meeting calendar in there. If y'all could all look at that, Michelle and kind of put that together every year and lay out our dates so we don't interfere with other community activities or overlap other community meetings that we're aware of. So we try to set that. It's not the thing that's partway through the year. If there's a major conflict, we can reschedule a meeting, but just wanted y'all to look at those dates. They're up there on the screen. Need a motion to approve the 2026 TDC meeting calendar.
Motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone have any questions on that calendar? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. That motion carries. Sports funding request, we have these from time to time throughout the year when we try to bring events to the county. Chris is doing a great job at, bringing stuff other than just our normal baseball and softball. We're starting to see a lot more other events, but this Mayhem in May, they've done it before. Their original ask, the first time they did it was $3,500. They only ended up receiving a little over $2,500 because, as we discussed, just because they get eligible for that, they've got to turn in the proper receipts and backup documentation in order to receive that money. This time they are asking for $5,500. It is my recommendation that we do the $3,500 that we did for their first event. This will only be their second event here. They did not receive the full $3,500 last time, so my recommendation to this board would be to do it for the $3,500 like they did before. If the event's bigger, obviously they should be able to provide additional documentation, but that's my recommendation, that we do a $3,500 and not the $5,500.
And Clint is based on the providing the receipts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What was the reason for the additional ask this year?
Chris may be able to elaborate some, but my understanding was they're thinking it's going to be a bigger event, but they have no way to prove that.
They were associated with the UFFL, and this year, working with them and the heads of that organization, I think they've kind of adjusted some stuff to, I'm not sure what the term would be, but maybe make this a qualifier or something else, or some kind of thing to draw more attention to it. So I think they're expecting a few more teams. I think last year, I think they were sitting around 28, 30 teams, somewhere in there. So not a big falling compared to the amount of teams that come here, but these teams are from Louisiana, Georgia, South Florida. And I think this year they're just expecting a few more. Kind of follow, that recommendation. I just, I think it's growing, so in a couple of years it could be, but I think right now, I think that it would definitely work at a lower amount, which I think they're aware. I actually spoke with Mr. Norm, he's over it. So I was aware, I think they are aware that that was a possibility. They're not going to get granted the whole amount that they were asking.
How does more teams actually increase the expenses for the event?
I think mainly for them, because they have to, I guess, their officials and things like that. That's stuff that we cover. So their hotel rooms for the officials and things. So I think we're just kind of doing that. But also, I think some of them now they try to minimize their risk. So I'm not saying that we should do that, because I'm a big proponent of, you have to have some skin in the game to make sure your tournament's coming. So I think that's just their guesstimations on it, and maybe their awards and things. I think this year they're looking to have a couple more, I won't call age groups, but different variations of it. So I think they do 7v7, maybe have some 5v5 age groups, but I know their age cap is 18, I think, to do that. So I'm not sure what other groups they were looking for. And I think also too, I think they were looking at a little bit of the value of bringing teams actually into the state of Florida, but I'm also looking into and filled out some information with Florida Sports Association to try to find them a little bit of grant funds through that too. So,
Yes, so let's just say we go ahead and suggest or recommend that we give them the 3,500 and it goes over the 3,500. So you don't think it's going to go over that, or you just want to?
It's not necessarily our concern if it does. We're not trying to take away all the risk. We're just trying to help get them here, entice them to come here. So, I imagine even if it did go over, that just like these other tournaments, their revenue from these expenses will far out, out to it. It's just like running a business. You got to have some, financial things in there. We can't fit the bill for everything. But if it does help this 3,500 in attracting, this kind of event that truthfully here hasn't necessarily been here before, because they usually do South Florida or some other areas, Atlanta or other locations. If it does kind of help entice a little bit, then, but also to our our coffers ain't super deep. So we gotta make sure we're spreading it and being responsible with the money. I think 35 is actually a pretty decent, number to take care of a few hotel rooms for them or some of the field, whatever it is. I know last year they had a good little portion with their media. So they were really big on the media. I think they had spec taking pictures, videos and things. So that's stuff that we cover at the grant. So it kind of helps them mediate the cost of some of those. Then
Okay. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve 3,500.
We have a motion and a second for the 3,500. And again, just I always remind the board, this is only based on their reimbursement. So if they don't provide the documentation and the proper paperwork, they will not receive that. So just like to preference that, but all in favor of the 3,500, say aye. Aye. All opposed, by sign. That motion carries. This staff report. Clint? All right, I'll start out the staff reports. The only thing I have in here, we'll try to make it quick, is the regional sports park, the 500-acre update. We got a lot of moving parts on this, as everybody knows. I think I announced in the last meeting, they're doing a lot of the surveying and marking the wetlands and all in this area for the phase one. Very fortunate to have good partners with FWC. Chris and I down there have met on several things. Trying to partner with them on some of the other educational points of the park. So everything's moving forward. It's a slow process right now with the survey and engineering and the building layout for the concession area in the soccer field areas. I did meet with the engineers last week just to go over a couple of things with the floor plan of those entry buildings. So they're working on some of that. So hopefully we'll have an updated report from those guys here in the near future. But everything is moving forward, so we're proud of that. This is going to be an awesome addition for Columbia County. Anybody have questions on that?
And thank you for that update. Michelle Moore, Market Coordinator.
So this morning we have Haley McKenzie from Paradise here to help do the marketing update. We actually have a really good report today. I'm excited about this. So I will let her take that part of it and then we'll go on to the event calendar. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. So share some of our October metrics, and we'll start with our organic social media. This is kind of just a rundown and a summary of what we did in October, but also kind of what we do every month. Executed annual content strategy. We planned and scheduled content for the calendar, managed daily operations, contributed to strategic planning efforts, and then we boosted engagement by crafting engaging social media stories that deepen audience connections and nurture our community. So we'll get into the metrics here. So this is for Facebook. So you can see the top 2 performing posts of that month. Notice how they're both nature focused. So we have some great metrics. We increased about over 50 followers in October. We had just about a 6% decrease in engagement, but nothing that we're worried about. But we did have some great impression increases, 41% there, and then about a 20% increase in reach. And then you'll see for Instagram, these are the top 2 performing posts for that platform. Again, nature focused. You'll see a theme here this month. And these metrics we're very pleased with. So we did increase about 10 followers this month. And then for engagement, impressions, and reach, those have all doubled since last month. So that is a huge push that we've been doing. And so we do want to call out that we collaborated with the Old Florida Gravel that just happened. So we've collaborated on some posts with them, and that played a major role in this audience growth and strong post performance. So in the future, we're going to be looking at doing more collaborations with communities and partners like that. So these are some year-to-date metrics, but since October was the first month of the fiscal, these are really just October metrics for now. They'll grow. So Facebook posts on the left, Instagram on the right. You see the theme is that people are really into nature. They're really responding well to the nature posts that we have and the nature that Columbia County has. And then just to run through some numbers for Facebook, we have about 32,000 impressions, over 500 engagements, and then our follower count sits at about that 8,600. And then for Instagram, we have those 18,000 impressions, over 700 engagements, and we're sitting right over that 2,000 profiles. All right, then we'll get into some website metrics for October. So we also had some great increases here. We will show you the website later, so I think that will play a big part of why we see these great metrics. Let's see, we can skip through that. So we have year over year and month over month. So year over year, we're about flat, which is great. And then month over month, so from last month, we have increased over 30% in our users. So that is really strong. So kind of goes back to that social, that organic social. We're updating the website. So all of that kind of feeds in and makes people more engaged. All right, so then we have some of our top cities and then our age groups. So for our cities, we have two outliers this month. I'm gonna try to say it right, but Lanzhou, I looked it up, I'm not really sure. And Singapore. So we believe that those are just bots. So we are looking at ways to remove them so that they don't show up on our metrics. We're only wanting, to get data from actual users. So we'll hopefully next month, those will be gone. But those top cities otherwise are Jacksonville, Lake City, Orlando. And then for our age, they're really ranging from 25 to 64. So it looks like we're starting to pull that younger audience, which is really cool. Right. And then here are our page title and screen class metrics. So you'll see the year over year, that's a little funky. Last year in October, we were dealing with the hurricane. This October, we're dealing with that website switch. So that's why some pages are down, some are up. It's a little weird. So we're looking at November to be kind of more, the metrics that we're used to seeing. But you can see from September, so from last month, the previous month, we have some big increases in our Visit Lake City page, our events, Falling Creeks, home. So those are really the numbers that we're looking at this month.
All right, thank you. Looking at the calendar, this is November and December, and you can see we have quite a bit. There will be a lot of Christmas programs going on in the county. I especially want to mention both parades, the Fort Wet Parade and the Rotary Club Christmas Parade. And we have the Breakfast with Santa and the Pancake with Santa. So those are like really big events. Usually they have a great turnout for each one. Also, Festival of Lights happens at Stephen Foster. And if anyone has any events they don't see on here, they want them added, please contact myself or Kylie. Weekly events have increased. We are now to 2 pages with this. So the reason being is Hal Powder has had an increase in events. Cooper's Hideout and the Woods has all been added, along with all of our normal ones. So we have a lot more going on during the week as well.
Guys, I want to point out something on here real quick. Michelle has done a great job on this. Used to, all this stuff was, our weekly events was in the calendar. Well, if you go through that calendar, it gets lost in there. But right now, it's bright, it labels the days, so it pops if you look at it, where it draws the weekly stuff out of our normal calendar. So good job on that.
Thank you. I'll go back to some more events when we go into the website in just a minute. I'll let Haley tell you all about what we went through. This is what the website used to look like. Notice the colors and the flat lines and stuff. And we've done a little bit of work on that. And I'll let Haley talk about that.
So right away, you can see, some minor, some major differences. That major difference being that wave feature that holds throughout the website, that subtle nod to the springs and the lake. So really our main goal with this website redo, if you will, was really to keep the same brand, to keep the voice, to keep the feel, but just to modernize it and make it a little more user-friendly. So we've updated, we've kind of incorporated these wave features throughout, kind of broken up the text more, made it a little more digestible for viewers. Yeah, you'll see if you hover over and read more, it makes some of those animation movements, which is fun. Over here, we did add Fort White, and we kind of put a little blurb mentioning Lake City, and Fort White is what makes up Columbia County. Feel free to keep scrolling. So yeah, we really just want you guys to see, Michelle has been such a great partner in helping us put this all together. There's some featured events down here, and these are rotating. So, in an hour, if you go onto the website yourself, you'll see maybe a whole list of new events. So that's really cool. And just, modernizing, cleaning up. You can feel free if you want to click on any other page and then we brought that wave feature back at the bottom, which is just that other subtle node. And then we can go, if you want to go straight to the events page. I'll let Michelle speak on this because she has played a huge role in getting the events page up and running. So I don't want to take her credit.
Thank you. So we haven't had a working calendar on here for almost a year. We have been working on some issues in the background of it, and we've done a huge update to it. Paradise has been wonderful with this. It now has 3 different options when you're on it. You do the lists, and it lists them straight out. You can do it by month or by photo. Whatever fits you and how you want to see it. And then I have entered each one of these. A lot of time and effort has gone into these. This calendar is looking so much better than it ever has. It's more bright and vibrant. On top of that, it has a lot of events in here. When someone says there's nothing to do in Lake City, they definitely do not know about this calendar. There's all kinds of things. Even, the art gallery has a lot of stuff throughout the month as well. You can go month, week to week. There's that cornhole. So it's got its place on there, a better photo for it. I'm constantly looking for stuff, and I add it. I add Fort White events as well as like city events. If I can find it, and I can put it on here. It would help if people send it to me, but they don't always remember to do that. So I'm going to go and have my normal ones that I go and check periodically through the month, and then they get used to. I was just keeping this calendar you see in your packet. Now I'm doing that on top of adding it to the website, plus an email blast that goes out at the beginning of the month. Molly has been learning to help me with this main calendar. And between the two of us, it is definitely a job that we are getting them put in. So if you don't see something and it should be on here, just let me know. And I'm happy to go in and add it on here. And then you also have a signature events page. These are events that happen annually. So they're listed by the month they happen in. So we got February events, March, and so on. As you know, the barbecue showdown got moved to April now, so that will be coming up next year. That's a big event now. We have a new rodeo, and then our other rodeo, and then the Christmas in Columbia, which is fixing to happen as well. So all of this stuff gets updated, and then you can also just go straight to the calendar that what you chose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, do you want to click on the
Yeah.
accessibility feature? So another thing we wanted to add was to make this website ADA compliant. So we did add this accessibility bar for vision impaired, ADHD, friendly seizure safe, blind users. And then you scroll, if you just, keep scrolling, content, color adjustments. So it really will fit your need, if you want to make it brighter, if you need to make it dark, it will actually blur out anything but what you're reading if you need more focus. So this is something that was really important to us to add. Now you'll start to see that little guy in the corner of every website and you'll know exactly what it is. So yep, it's always there if you need it. Do we want to go to, we're already on the partner page. So we put a lot of work into this page as well. We cleaned it up. We added all the new headshots. We will have a new funding request page, which is going to be great. Notices in media, pretty much the same, but we were able to add the Gateway Outdoor Center video to this page, which we're really excited about. You want to play it? I think you're rocking the same shirt.
That's awesome.
And then we did add, under affiliations, we added a whole bunch, and now they actually are linked to their own websites. So if you want to click into any, it'll go directly to their website. So that's kind of what we've all been working on these past few months. A bit of a facelift, but still keeping it, the Lake City brand in that feel and that tone and voice. You have any questions? Yeah.
Great job. The website looks amazing. I was just gonna ask on the events, if we see events that are not on the website, should we send them to you? And then maybe a little discussion on what kind of events versus what kind of events you don't want to put on the website too. Like tonight, I think I'm taking my kids to the University of Florida IFAS 4-H, they're going to talk about growing chickens, tonight at 5:00. Is that some content that you would want to put on an event, on the events page, or not necessarily?
I mean, we can totally put that on there. I didn't know about that. They probably have a calendar of events themselves, so I can reach out to Heather and get their event. And, like if it's a meeting or something, that obviously wouldn't go on there. What it is typically, anyone who stays at our campgrounds or hotels, they're looking for things to do, especially if they have kids and they want to get out and go do something.
Gotcha.
So we put this in a place where we have rack cards. So they go onto the website through that rack card, through the QR code, and the hotels can tell them, or campgrounds, go under to the events, go to the calendar. And there's usually something, at least something to do each single day. It may not be something they want to do or whatever. But yes, things like that, if you have them, send them my way. And if it's something that can't go in there for some crazy reason, I'll let you know.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, to go off what Michelle just said, our main goal is obviously to drive tourism. So any events in the community that you think people in the hotels or the campgrounds would want to attend, or a reason to come to the city, that's really our main goal. Website and the event page is just really to draw people into this community. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all's partnership. The website is awesome. There's been a ton of corrections that has had to be made, and of course, just the updates to make it more user-friendly and everything. So a great site. So I appreciate the work that you guys have done with Michelle and It's been a long time coming, but it looks good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just start off with the social media. I know we're coming to, I guess, almost like a whole year of it going, so it's definitely growing a little bit on the Instagram side and the Facebook side. Hopefully next year we'll start doing a year by year comparison, since we're just now coming on the full year. I think I'm sitting at 13 months, 14 months now with the county, so pretty cool to see that come to fruition. So as you can see, Facebook, that stuff itself in terms of views, you know, videos, things like that. They kind of link into making sure whenever an event is hosted here, softball side, soccer side, doesn't matter. They get their exposure through their social media, and also kind of tagging along with them. This last month, I've had a few opportunities to collaborate with a few different organizations. Old Fort Gravel was one of them, as well as this past weekend, the U.S. Here, I want to say, make sure I say their name right. Soccer's weird. They got a bunch of here. They're in the kind of hunts for finding ways to host events. So we were able to host a small. So I think they had like 4 teams. I think originally it was 6, but they were here multiple games. They're in Southside, so a lot of activation there. In the last 30 days, 10,000 views or something like that in the last 30 days. So these groups definitely had some followings with them. A lot of the targeted stuff, you know, as you can see, obviously sports that, one, we can house in terms of our facilities, and 2, that even though if we can't house it necessarily on a flat field or a diamond, you know, they definitely have some kind of following in before. So it's really targeted in terms of, you know, the amount of groups I'm trying to get in here and utilize Columbia County for these events. So social media is really doing good. So I'm pretty excited, and it's all organic. So there hasn't been any paid ads or anything like that. So it's pretty much strategically putting it together, going out and finding the images, whether it's some that we commissioned at the beginning of the year when I first got here, or some that we were able to collect over the last few months. And then that way we're just, again, just steady putting it out there. And again, it's growing, so pretty happy that I haven't had to spend any money in terms of doing the paid ads to get that increase. And that's the Instagram right there, so you can see everything is completely up on the right side of it, and again, it's just a steady flow. Jumping into the calendar, well, I guess before we get that, I kind of jumped on it. If you didn't know, we actually, if you haven't, it was on the social media. So if you don't know, shame on you, go follow the social media. But we actually won an award for the Babe Ruth State Tournament that was here. We won Economic Impact Award through Sports Destination Management. That was really cool to be able to do that. Mr. Doug was pretty thrilled. We ended up getting a copy of the certificate along with him, so they sent one to him, I believe. I think the whole deal was a little over $3 million, so $3.2 million of impact. Yeah, I think the estimated rooms was 750 or a little bit over it. So they were here for 5 or 6 days. Really good event. And again, obviously, looking back next year, several other events, I think. Definitely hosted the Old Florida Gravel. I'll give you some quick trips with them, but I know we're waiting for some more final updates for when they're sending their stuff in. They had over 200 riders, and they had 3 different events. I think one 35, so they had 35, 70, and 100 miles. Nuts to think somebody rode that in 2 hours, 3 hours. You know, that's nuts. They had over 200 something riders. People got off of these bicycles, their legs shaking. You know, it's like, you know, most people can hardly ride in the car for 4 hours, let alone the bicycle, that little seat. But it was a pretty good event. They had it all tech. Like I said, over 200 riders. I think they had a 5K. They had a 5K, 10K. I think they had 20 to 30 runners in those. It was a good event. They definitely utilized some local vendors with their signage, and obviously the group that came out and had it in the booth. I was able to set the sports commission tent. So it was a pretty good event. We're looking forward to next year. You know, I think right now they're on like a little bit of a tour with some of their other events, but I think once they finish that, they're going to circle back around to looking up for next year. Had a chance to speak with them. They're going to be looking more into some leading up to their event, some more community activation, which is super huge. A lot of these groups I'm talking to now, that's kind of one of the things that I like to kind of push, just because, you know, it helps the community get involved. But again, all these sports that I'm trying to, you know, entice to come here, not just because of the half the sport here, but it has some kind of a draw either locally or surrounding counties to help bring groups in here. So like obviously the soccer, the baseball, softball, 7-on-7, we have different followings there. So, and different niche sports also. So there's definitely, and you can see our calendar. We've been pretty much rolling the last few months, multiple weekends. I think our last weekend is the 20th of December. But just to kind of give you a ballpark on the amount of things, I'll just pick on softball. I know he was one of the main vendors when we got here, but in the last 2 months, he's hosted 4 events. 5, I think one was kind of split into 2, but 4 events. And there's been a total of about 183 teams that's come through Columbia County. If you want to break it through by individual, each team average 12 kids per team. So now you're looking at around, sorry, I got to look at my notes because I wrote down, don't forget, a little over 3,000 athletes. Ballpark figure, if you can just imagine, most of them have the number, I think it's like 1.2, something like that, kids. But again, that's another over 4,500 adults and siblings that are in the county. And that's just in the last 4 or 5 weekends. I think their last tournament, I think now they have 71 registered. And that's for the December tournament, 71 teams registered. So there's a constant influx of groups that are coming in. Next year, I'm going to take this, I'll toot the horn a little bit. So next year, the softball fields are actually 100% booked. No more space on them between 3 different vendors. So USSSA is coming here, Perfect Game will host a few events, as well as DC Fast Pitch, which is another national brand that I guess does stuff throughout the South. So 21 events are 1 day, and then 15 are 2-day events. So there'll be a lot of softball. Baseball is constantly coming in too. Got multiple days for the fall, but I'm expecting more to come flowing in there. So it's definitely working. As you can see, like I said, this looks a little short. It's kind of weird when you look at the event calendar now, but that's because it ends in December. January, when it cranks up, January will be kind of dull into December, obviously with the holiday, New Year's, but in February, it cranks right back up and everything's rolling pretty much. Right now, I think it's looking just about every weekend. For the most part, there's going to be a sporting event here in Columbia County, whether it's on a baseball diamond, a soccer field. And truthfully, there's multiple possibilities with niche sports that aren't even going to be on any of these fields. Communications right now, I know I've spoken with a few people, but definitely possibilities of from other niche sports and other spaces that don't require stick and ball, that don't require a drug baseball field or softball field. So there's a lot of opportunities coming in 2026. And I think that's pretty much it for me. I mean, if I will throw this out there, there are some events that, obviously we're in, I won't say negotiation, but hopefully opportunities to get them here. One is the American Powerboat Association. I know that wants this coming. That gentleman actually had a site visit this past Saturday, super juiced about the location. Took a crap load of pictures when I was here, met with Miss Phillips over with the city. She met us out there. So he's working on, I guess, proposals and whatnot. So then it'll start going back and forth with that. Same thing.
Like the downtown.
Yeah, he was taking pictures. He was like, man, it's super cool. The venue, obviously, with the circle. I mean, I think most of their races that they do, even though they might be bigger bodies of water or whatever, they're in locations that can't really be viewed by other people. Or if you can, you're in one isolated location and you're either looking through binocs or with a really limited view of it. Not too many places that they go where you can have almost like a 360-degree viewing point. Obviously, they would probably block off a portion of it for their safety boats, to be so nobody's sitting there. But for the most part, they're able to go and hook up their boats, which they're super juiced about that parking lot there. And I mean, it's an adult sport, so we'll be honest, they're a little bit close to the libations. The brewery there was definitely a big deal. Main Street, all that whole area. I think he was able to eat at Main Street when he came here Friday night, and he really liked it. He was over the moon about it. Like I said, so there's definitely events that are coming. So like I said, if you see an email from me like, hey, this group might be, some of them really do look for local activation. Some of them look for local corporate sponsorships. Obviously, that's things that we don't facilitate. But, when those, come down the pipeline, I'm just going to try to send them and get them to as many people as I can. That way, whenever they come to a site visit or come do some kind of visit, I can get them in the room with people that might be, able to hit what they need. And if they can't, then it's easier. All right, well, we can't fill it, and then they move on or whatnot. So a lot of great things coming in 26. Yes, sir.
Can I throw a comment out and then maybe a question too? Chris is doing a great job, man. You're rocking it. And I've come in and sat down and met with Chris, and I know he's always kind of thinking ahead too, way past this calendar, you know what I mean, next year. We've been talking about maybe looking at, like a fishing tournament or something along those lines. It just kind of hit me. I was excited about the 500 acre update that was just given, you know what I mean? And I was kind of thinking, as you were talking, Chris, about when do we, Clint, maybe I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit here, but do we have any idea when those soccer fields would come online? Like what year? And it's okay if it's we don't know yet. We're still trying to figure it out. But I was just trying to think about, man, what a boon that's going to be, to the area to have those soccer games or flag football games or lacrosse, whatever it is, on those flat fields. Do we have any idea, when those fields will come online? As far as planning purposes go, you know what I mean, and trying to pull tournaments here, in Columbia County.
Well, great question, Chris. We don't have a timeline as far as build out right now. Obviously, that's going to depend on the funding source, whether we're able to partner with a public-private partnership for build out, or if it's going to be back on, the county and possible legislative appropriation. That's going to be the deciding factor on how quick the build out actually occurs. We've got some irons in the fire where we're dealing with all those different avenues right now. But once the engineering phase one gets done, then we'll be able to place a little bit more of a timeline on when we can start that.
Okay, I'll end by saying I'm really excited again, about the potential of open up 16 flat fields on the north side. And that really takes a lot of pressure off the south side too, you know what I mean? And so if you're having a softball tournament, at Southside, that's jamming that area up, you know what I mean? And Chris probably isn't able to plan a soccer tournament that same weekend, you know what I mean? And if you do, it's really going to be jammed up, you know what I mean? So I'm saying, hey, I'm kind of really excited about the 500 acre regional park and trying to get those flat fields, in as soon as we can. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. In terms of like Southside's actually will hold quite a few teams. Again, obviously spacing it out. Now I think the softball vendor, he's getting a little bit used to using South Columbia too. So this past weekend they used Fort White also. I think they had 65 teams. So they had some here, some in Fort White. The soccer event was also going on. It was small. It was supposed to be a baseball event, but they didn't make, so they ended up canceling. But comfortably, if it was all on Southside, there's been times this past year that there's been over 100 teams in there over multiple events. So baseball, softball, soccer. So it'll hold quite a bit, but you're right. I mean, definitely planning and making sure the logistics and everything is good. Usually if that's packed like that, we usually have the sheriffs out there to kind of help with parking and things like that, which has been a big help, I think, the last few tournaments. And plus too, some of them, like they're coming and going. So softball is kind of stationary because they do the 1 days, but baseball, they don't play 4 or 5 games in a day. They'll play 1 or 2, then they go. So there's usually an influx of people depending on the style of tournament that's in there too, the amount of people that's in there at one time.
And Chris, once the engineering gets done on the phase one, collectively, when they have all the conceptual drawings and what have you together, collectively as a board, we're going to have to put something together to visit Tallahassee, maybe even during the rural days, just to break the ice, if you want to say, because the appropriations and what have you are really tightening up. I mean, that's pretty well across the media everywhere. But the neat thing about this project, I mean, you've talked about it, the regional impact that this park is going to have, and then put the factor of the outdoor part that you're alluding to, and then put the soccer. It's a big deal, and we're already in people's ears in Tallahassee, but it's going to take a collective production, if you want to call it, to be able to solicit them type of funds.
Well, I think that's what I was searching to get out was. I think this board is primed to help with that. You know what I mean? Or at least I am. I'm trying to open that up for discussion down the road. Maybe not necessarily right now, but
let the board, let us know how we can help, you know what I mean? Spur on some movement there and getting those flat fields in, because that's going to be a huge boom, you know, for Columbia County, especially on the north side up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal, but I think the rural days, of course, Michelle was a big part of that last year. There's a lot of contact. I mean, everybody's, it's kind of a neat event. It's one, if you ain't never been, but you can make a lot of contacts and hopefully TDC is gonna put their program together and we'll do our job as far as exactly what's that scheduled date right now?
That is Wednesday, is that the 21st? January 21st, I think, 22nd. Tourism Day is actually happening on that Wednesday. And Rural County's Day. So they're there together this year. Usually they're, I think a week apart or something, but they're together this year. So Tourism Day is where you go and you make appointments and talk to the different folks there at the Capitol, the lawmakers.
Don's got a guard in-house, let's say, he'll be
He does.
setting up, meetings up for Clint, Michelle, and at that point, January, it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
No, you go ahead and finish up.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we got to open public comments. Let's try to keep it limited to 2 minutes.
And special requirements, name, address, anything that y'all want from the speaker.
State your name and address if you would, please.
My name is Sylvester Warner, 30 Northeast Joe Coney, Terrace, Lake City, Florida, 32055. I just stopped in to visit. I'm very familiar with the TDC, and it's always important to say, hey, look, some of y'all are paid, some of y'all aren't paid, y'all volunteers. So I guess on one hand, it's good to say that y'all are doing what y'all think is in the best interest and doing the best that y'all can. However, you know, I'm a very critical thinker, and sometimes I can be very critical in a way that hopefully takes people out of a narrow way of looking at things and be more broad. When I look at these videos, I saw no black kids, saw no black people, right? And let's just count it as just one color. That's a bad presentation. It's a bad look on whoever is making these films. When you look at the holidays and you look down, I didn't see Martin Luther King Day. I didn't see Juneteenth. I didn't see Black cultural events, because you got Black people and Black culture things here. And you're talking about the available space. Clint, I think you would agree or disagree, it's up to you. But doesn't Andy Maddox field have a better field than the high school, Columbia High School, as well as turf-wise?
It used to.
I mean, y'all did it. I mean, it was. So why is that field not being utilized, and why did the county back out of funding it, and why did the city vote to never do anything better? So we have all these spots in a particular area that, for some reason, by the TDC and other elected officials get overlooked, as if these communities don't exist, these places don't exist, where they could easily be incorporated into the TDC, unless you just don't want TDC funds in those neck of the woods. But it's people who live there. There's activities going on there. No one is on their feet making their moves and walking out to see what's going on in that particular community, because that community is growing, it's doing amazing things, and it needs help just like any other group. So my recommendation would be to back up some, right? Stop always advocating the so-called majority, or your friends, or your cronies, or whoever it is that may be, or the powers to be, or whatever, and take a look at these areas which are underserved that can better be served if the TDC and you great folks come down there and look at those areas and see how they can be repurposed for the betterment. Because when neighborhoods like the Black community does well, Lake City as a whole does well. So don't write those folks off and don't write those places off, right? Try to be more inclusive in how you all go about doing things with the TDC and include these communities and include these spaces that exist that people work very hard and die spending their pennies on to make these places exist, and to not fund them and to not include them and to not recognize them is a spit, not a slap, because a slap and a spit is different. A spit is more disrespectful. And it's more of a spit in the face of those people who sacrifice blood, tears, and their money to make these things exist, and y'all just tend to overlook them. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to have public comments?
I would like to say that the calendar in December on here, I do have events that go further out, and Martin Luther King is on there. Always has been for 10 years. So any other events that I need to know about, please let me know.
Okay, TDC members, any comments?
Michelle, I don't know if you have it on the calendar already. I think you do, but Sick Week is actually coming back February 2nd. So
Chris is actually talking about that, and he's been doing some research on it.
it's a Monday this year. So because it's just because they changed their route every year. Last year we got lucky, we were on a Friday. So, but this year, just because of the way they've changed their route, it's a Monday. So it'll be a little bit different. But they did just reach out to us again. We've been in constant contact with them, but it's just fresh on my mind. So, and make sure you check your calendar too, because I think when you and I talked originally, it was a Tuesday and they switched it to the 2nd, but that's set in stone now. February the 2nd.
Go ahead, Chris.
The voting item that we had earlier today about the Mayhem in May. I was fine with, we reduced the grant from 5,000 to 3,000, 55 to 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. I'm catching up now. I'm a little slow. I just want to get a thought, kind of plant a seed here at the end of the meeting. Maybe we can talk about it, down the road. The idea is that I'm okay with reducing that grant, but I was thinking, what would we give more money for too? You know what I mean? In an ideal world, and I'm thinking past that. I'm thinking other grants in the future. We have good social media data, marketing data online. If there's a way to incentivize getting some help and collecting some like qualitative data from people that visit here, I'm thinking like surveying everybody that came to Mayhem, and asking them, hey, what would it take for you to stay another night? You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying that I think I would be in favor of incentivizing getting some more data. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying we do anything right now or have a huge discussion. I just want to kind of get that idea out there and plant the seed because it was catching up to me since we did the vote earlier. So thanks for allowing me to get that out.
No, I can actually, that affects that because it's currently being done, because again, we don't have a lot of grant dollars for that. There is other ways that they find value in certain things. So even outside of this small amount, not too many places are you going to go where you get county bodies that are in the facility that are helping, so the Park and Landscape always has a group of guys like softball, soccer. There's always somebody in there to make sure that stuff is taken care of. Like I said, there's some negotiation room with the field rental costs, just like I did with the soccer group. We were able to negotiate it down a little bit in terms of them, with the logos and the collaboration, things like that. So there are ways that are currently being done. Most groups now, in my 5 minutes into the thing, like some standard practices, we'll call it, like most of them that realize that do seek the grants and do different things for multiple locations, they are set and know that their part of that is getting the information. You know what I mean? So if we were to say, hey, we're going to give you money and chase down your information, that leaves zero risk and involvement on their side of it. So there is still almost like a balancing act with some of that stuff. Now, on our side, there are ways to track it, which we're currently kind of looking into TDC side and the sports side. So That way you kind of have your own ballpark too, but on their side, most of them are set up to gather that information. That makes sense. So whenever they do their registrations and stuff, they can see where people are coming from, this and that. Some of them at their registrations, they ask that team that's registering where they're staying and all this good stuff. And that's stuff that they turn over to the TDCs and the sports commission when they're seeking their grant funds. Plus, they also do that just so they know where to go in their things, right? Because you don't want to go to a place where softball there's no softball fields or no group that wants to play softball. You're not going to go to a location, take a flag football tournament if there's no groups that participate in that, or it's not centrally located to get that. Just like SIG week, I mean, their route's not going to come through here if we're not perfectly lined up with these, with the routes to go. So there's a lot of strategic things that they do on their side.
I guess all I was saying was, I mean to cut you off, but just,
you're good.
I'm just saying, hey, like, I didn't want to pay them the full ask there if they told us they were going to give us some data that we didn't already have. Just at a high level, I'm just making that comment. You know what I mean? So maybe we could talk about data at a future meeting. That's my only comment. I think we're doing a great job. Great job of staff. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy holidays, and we'll see you.
Anybody else? I got one thing I just want to mention to everybody. The executive director position did get advertised Monday of this week, so it is out there. So if anybody's interested in applying for this position, get on the county website, get your application in. I think we've got it advertised on Indeed and some other areas. So the executive director position is currently out there being advertised. Anyone else?
I would like to say something if I may. I've been on this TDC for a year or so, and I just want to give credit where credit is due. Michelle and the team that she's put together here, Clint, all the support here, the hotels. I'm telling you, County Commissioner Murphy, I'm telling you that I think everybody here with the effort, we are doing a very, very good job. And I want to compliment people like Michelle and Chris and the hotel around here and the different businesses that we have here. I've been in Lake City all my life, in Columbia County. So I see the different changes. I see the great changes, the great things that everybody is doing. I just want to say that keep that great work up. Do not stop for no one or anything. You know what's best for Columbia County and Lake City. Let's keep that going. We got a strong support system right here with County Commissioner Murphy. So whatever you do not stop. Please keep it going. You're doing excellent. That's all I do.
All right, next meeting is Wednesday, January the 14th. Obviously, we got the holidays right here on top of us. I hope everybody has a great, happy holiday, but our next meeting will be January the 14th at 9 a.m. right here. So, anybody has anything else? We're adjourned.
Okay.